Discover the touching moment a billionaire uncovers transformative lessons from a homeless girl. In the glossy heights of San Francisco's financial district, James Elliott was king. A billionaire at 45, he wore bespoke suits that shimmered under the office lights, each thread a symbol of victory in the cutthroat world of tech capitalism. But beneath the accolades, the million-dollar bonuses, and the pristine view of the Golden Gate was a man grappling with a growing void. As he stared at the skyline from his towering glass office, his heart felt heavy, an emptiness gnawing at him with each passing day. The controversial merger pushing his company into the spotlight was expected to yield exorbitant payouts, yet it threatened the very values he had built his empire upon. He felt like an imposter in his own life, superbly successful yet consumed by a solitary ache that no amount of wealth could assuage. Seeking respite from the sterile confines of board meetings, James navigated the bustling city streets, ultimately finding solace in a nearby park. The vibrant greenery stood in stark contrast to the demanding corporate world he knew so well. Children laughed, their carefree spirits a reminder that not everyone was stifled by obligations and lucrative temptations. Amidst them, he spotted Lucy, a 12-year-old girl radiating pure energy, bright paint strewn around her like confetti, each canvas a story of her struggle, dreams, and resilience. Intrigued, he approached, his heart racing. Here was someone who painted not just to survive but to show unfettered vitality. Something inside him stirred. "Hi there," he said, surprised at how soft his voice sounded. "What's all this beautiful artwork about?" "I'm making my world brighter," she chirped, sun-kissed cheeks glowing as her determination shone through. With each tale she spun of crumbling homes and vibrant hopes, James found himself inexplicably wrapped in her authenticity. Every brushstroke, every word ignited something lost within him, awakening a brutal truth. He was drowning in an ocean of superficial success while she, with far less, fought to express her very existence. Each painting was brimming with the unfiltered emotions he had long suppressed in the pursuit of wealth. But as their friendship blossomed, so too did the shadows over it. Just as he was beginning to embrace this refreshingly stark perspective, word came that the city was planning to evict Lucy from her makeshift gallery, a tightening noose around her fragile existence. The pressure surged within him, a moral dilemma that eclipsed the boardroom's ruthless calculations. Should he leverage his influence and resources to protect her? Or maintain his image and secure the financial empire that had come to define him? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. His mind raced, irregular breathing quickened, his muscles tensed. Conversations with the city council loomed, and the gnashing teeth of capitalist integrity dragged him deeper into anxiety. Here was someone who saw the world differently, challenged societal norms with her passion, and yet he stood at the precipice, a choice tearing at his soul. As he pondered his next steps, Lucy gifted him a painting, the canvas vibrant with hues of hope and possibility, her eyes sparkling with belief in him. "This is for you," she said, the belief in her voice striking such a stark contrast to his own internal doubts. In that electrifying moment, as he held her creation, a reflection of the better life she envisioned for herself, James felt the weight of his decision resting heavily upon him. The road ahead split into two paths: the preservation of his opulent empire at the cost of his humanity, or a newfound quest for authenticity, risking everything he had built. Just then, the enormity of his choice sank in, deeper than any merger he had ever negotiated. He was changed already, but could he fully embrace that transformation? As he stood under the burgeoning weight of uncertainty, the world around him faded, leaving only the vivid image of Lucy's hope burning in his mind, a question hanging insistently in the air: would he dare to fight not just for her, but for himself? James stood in the park, Lucy's painting clutched tightly in his hands, a whirlwind of emotions entwined within him. The vibrant colors reflected what had been extinguished from his own life: the spontaneity of joy, the urge to create, and the essence of hope. He could still hear the echoes of her laughter, animated and full of dreams, while the weight of his corporate reality pressed on his chest. What began as a casual curiosity had now invoked a profound reckoning within him. Could he genuinely take a stand? The stakes felt alarmingly high. The sheer idea of utilizing his influence counterbalanced against his need for validation from the corporate ladder created an inner tension that threatened to overpower him. He knew the council meeting was imminent. Their decision would directly impact Lucy, and perhaps the entire direction of his life. Would his choice speak to his character or merely his ambition? Driving home later that evening, the streets sped by in a blur, silent witnesses to his turmoil. A system that demanded loyalty and profit at any cost clashed violently with the exhilaratingly raw spirit he had encountered in Lucy. Each green light flickered like an indicator of his choices. Instead of surrendering to the comfort of his lavish lifestyle, he felt a pull toward the unknown, the idea of authenticity urging him forward. As he settled into his plush leather chair back in the office, he felt more like a spectator than the king he was perceived to be. The perspective shifted. He started scrutinizing the company's values, the elusive success he had strived for, and what it cost him personally. The numbers on his screens no longer captivated him. They felt like shackles that tied him to a life devoid of fulfillment. He reached for his phone, hesitating. What kind of leader or person was he if he didn't fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves? When he reached Lucy earlier, it was not just as a billionaire but as a human yearning for connection. The next day, as if summoned by a newfound purpose, he decided to visit the city council office. Each step toward the expansive building felt laden with determination as he pushed through the double-glass doors, his heart pounding with fresh resolve. This conversation held significance far beyond a standard bureaucratic interaction. Once inside, he found himself immersed in discussions with council members about community initiatives. They eagerly shared projects that sought to assist vulnerable populations, each proposal brightened with idealism. Yet, the contrast to Lucy's plight gnawed at him. His experience in corporate seeing benefits and buoyant promises couldn't shake the unyielding truth that Lucy needed more than rhetoric, she needed action. At that moment, clarity struck him. He envisioned a structure that could bridge the worlds he inhabited, the tech empire and Lucy's realm of artistic struggles. Ideas began swirling: a fund, an initiative, or even a partnership. What if he used his resources not only to save Lucy's makeshift gallery but as a model for empowering others like her? He knew he had the power to disrupt an unfair system. The decision crystallized upon him as he returned to his car, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Hunter instincts honed through years of negotiation now turned toward a bigger battle, one not solely rooted in personal gain, but in compassion and authenticity. Just as he sat in the driver's seat, ready to execute his plan, an unexpected realization washed over him. This endeavor would require more than funding. It demanded a heartfelt commitment to understanding the lives of those he hoped to uplift. Each question he needed to answer started forming in his mind. What did real support look like? How could he truly listen to their stories without imposing his vision? Feeling both exhilarated and terrified, a single thought resounded within him. The time had come to face not just the city council, but himself. Would he dare to unveil layers of complexity that reached beyond profits and losses? With a deep breath, he grabbed his phone again, poised to make calls that could reshape his legacy. But as he tapped in Lucy's number, a voice inside his head reminded him that the real work was just beginning. What awaited him in battle was not just a chance to change her fate, but an opportunity to redefine his own. James could feel the uncertainty quaver in his chest as he hung up the call. Lucy's voice lingered in his mind, a mixture of hope and a vulnerability that struck him to the core. He had reached out, but what would he really give her? Just financial backing? He envisioned the glitzy city skyline reflecting in the glass of his office, a stark reminder of everything that had brought him to this moment, yet everything he now found suffocating. Back in the office, the familiar hum of computers and muted conversations felt alien. He had tried so hard to conform, to silence any inkling of rebellion against the norms he had been taught to revere. Every report, every forecast was designed to reinforce the status quo, a maze he had so easily navigated but now felt trapped within. In the following days, his commitment solidified. He began to research community initiatives, not just out of obligation but with fervor. He visited art nonprofit organizations, attended meetings featuring creators sharing similar struggles to Lucy's. Each encounter broadened his understanding, stung his conscience, and pushed him to reconsider his corporate tactics of the past. The project he envisioned, a foundation to cultivate artistic expression through technology, grew as robust as the thoughts that propelled him. But a lingering question nagged at him: what made his insights legitimate? A name and wealth alone did not grant him authority over narratives he had only begun to witness. In meetings, he relied on his negotiation skills to network, but soon realized he needed to do more than talk. Listening became an arduous but vital exercise. Discussions revealed basic necessities and complex emotional landscapes. The enormity of his privilege was painfully evident. His interactions became less about imposing a solution and more about engaging in shared humanity. He organized a small gathering of local artists at a community space, envisioning a blend of empowerment and business. The evening he de-scheduled filled him with both excitement and dread. Would they find his intention sincere, or merely the ramblings of someone looking to cushion their conscience? The artists filtered in, each one with a story that flowed deeper than their paint and canvas could convey. As he spoke at the event, a knot formed in his stomach. Could he translate his vision to these raw, authentic voices? The silence that responded felt deafening. He felt exposed. With every word, he hoped to instigate a connection that would shape their futures, his canvas now adorned with the colors of their realities rather than his ambitions. As night fell, a woman approached him. Her name was Maya, an artist struggling with mental health issues and a lack of stable housing. She shared how art saved her from despair, but the resources to pursue it remained just out of reach. "What do you have to offer? Will you just take our stories and run with them?" she asked, her eyes piercing into him. The question hit hard, and he faltered. He couldn't conjure a scripted answer. Rather, a growing certainty gripped him: his foundation wouldn't just be a charity, it needed to create pathways for collaboration, co-creation. If he hesitated, it would mean more of the same, a patronizing gesture he was desperate to avoid. As he sat on a curb after the event, the gravity of his intended path began to settle. He wasn't merely a billionaire looking to save the day, he needed to confront his own fear of inadequacy, the fear that haunted him while he attempted to fill Lucy's gallery with his empty resolves. The horizon gleamed above him, tainted with cautious hope. Questions swirled relentlessly in his mind about Lucy, the choices ahead, and his growing responsibility. If he were to truly commit and own this, he had to step beyond his predefined limits. What still lay before him was a revelation, a battle not just for Lucy's gallery, but for the very essence of creativity and authenticity he had long since forsaken. But the deeper he journeyed, the more he sensed a looming confrontation with his own legacy. Could he truly embrace the complexity of their lives while unraveling his own, or would the weight of expectation prove too burdensome? Just as the thought crystallized, an unexpected text vibrated on his phone. It was Lucy, her words igniting a fresh tension. "I need to show you something." James felt a jolt at the sight of Lucy's text, a signal that pulled him from his thoughts like a lifeline. He weighed the implications of her words, "I need to show you something," as he stared at the screen, his heartbeat quickening. The uncertainty now felt like a familiar weight, amplifying the urgency to act rather than reflect. He wasted no time responding, eager to find assurance in her vision, but also grappling with his consciousness, which kept circling back to Maya's gaze. Her piercing question echoed through him: what could he genuinely offer these artists? The trembling confidence he once relied upon felt like a facade, a construct that now shattered under scrutiny. That weekend, he arrived at Lucy's studio, the scent of fresh paint mingling with the dust of creativity that enveloped the space. His pulse quickened not just at the sight of her but at the promise of new understanding that hung in the air. "Thanks for coming, James," Lucy greeted, her own excitement palpable yet underlined with a hint of trepidation. She motioned for him to follow her inside, where canvases leaned against the walls, vibrant displays of vision mingling with fragments of life's harsh realities, a testament to ambition, struggle, and triumph that couldn't be represented in spreadsheets. "I've been working on something," Lucy said, her hands brushing across several paintings. "I wanted to create something impactful that could tell a story, a connection to an experience beyond art. But more than that, I want these pieces to spark awareness. He inhaled sharply as she revealed her work. One canvas depicted swirling dark colors, fighting to break free of the boundaries set by lighter hues. It represents the idea of constraint versus freedom, she explained. I want people to see not just beauty but the struggle behind it. The depth of her vision struck him, and a sense of inadequacy crept over him again, forcing him to wonder if he truly had the capacity to support such profound narratives. I see so much potential here, Lucy, he finally managed. But it's intimidating to think that I might not be able to elevate this with my involvement. That's part of the journey, James, she replied. You have the privilege and resources to forge meaningful change. Just don't let fear stifle your intuition. Her words allowed a shift in his perception, revealing new pathways for collaboration. The hesitation began melting away as visions of artists like Maya intertwined with Lucy's art, a potential synthesis that could give birth to more than mere charity. Let us create a platform where these stories can be shared, James suggested, newfound determination weaving through his voice. A place where artists connect and create together, where your art and their stories intertwine. Lucy's eyes sparkled with understanding, and he could feel the momentum building around his proposal, blossoming into ideas that made him dizzy with possibility. But with each notion came a creeping doubt beneath: would he truly commit in this endeavor? As they began sketching plans, his mind tangled with the responsibility of it all. Questions morphed into reflections of uncertainty. Would Lucy accept him into her world? Would Maya's skepticism return to haunt him? Days turned into weeks, and he immersed himself deeper into Lucy's vision. He coordinated workshops for artists while pushing through his trepidation. He gained traction from the artistic community, realizing that his role needed to be one of partnership rather than savior, but an undercurrent of anxiety remained. Then, as he prepared for a larger meeting with local talented artists, he received a disheartening phone call. Someone had decided to pull funding from the project even though it was premature. It felt like a colossal setback. His heart sank. The shaking foundations of what he had begun to build felt threatened, the shadows of doubt creeping back, taunting him with the weight of expectation. He questioned his ability to navigate not just the world of art, but his own burgeoning identity. But before he could ruminate too deeply, another text buzzed on his phone. It was Maya. Can we meet? I'm worried about something. James's breath hitched at the thought. What lay behind her request? And would he have the courage to address not only her worries but also his own fear of failure? The time had come for him to confront what his role would truly be, not just for Lucy, but for all those caught in the tangled web of artistry and existence. James stared at Maya's text, and a wave of apprehension coursed through him. The gravity of their relationship pressed heavily on him now, each layer of doubt unearthing insecurities he'd hoped to bury. He had faced uncertainty before, but this felt different. This wasn't just about him, it was about the weight of expectations, the fears of failure, and the path of support he had chosen to tread alongside Lucy. As he arrived at their meeting spot, a small, quiet coffee shop teeming with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and soft chatter, he became acutely aware of the emotional nuances wrapped in this encounter. It felt like an arena where they would both wear their vulnerabilities on their sleeves. He shook his head, trying to dispel the notion. He had to focus on her, not on himself. What troubles could she need to share? Maya greeted him with a hesitant smile, one that seemed to mask a brewing storm beneath. They settled at a corner table, the ambient noise swirling around them. As she sipped her coffee, her gaze flicked to the floor, deep in thought. The urge to reassure surged within him, but how could he provide solace when his own demons lingered? Maya, he began, I got your message. What's on your mind? She hesitated, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup, and for a moment, he could see the struggle etched on her face, the amalgamation of trust and concern. I've been thinking a lot about your project, the workshops, she said slowly. It's bold, James, and I admire you for it. But, he prompted, feeling the knot in his stomach tighten. She looked into his eyes, searching for something, maybe even solid ground. But I worry. It's great that you're trying to elevate voices, but is it truly sustainable? It feels more like charity than empowerment. The word struck him like a cold wave, slashing through his veils of uncertainty. She was right, charity bore a temporal facade. The aching truth was that impact must be rooted in sustainability, not mere fleeting acts of goodwill. He had been swept away by enthusiasm, but had he simply skimmed the surface of genuine engagement? "I'm starting to feel that pressure, too," he replied, grappling with his admission. "I want to create lasting opportunities. But then, I question whether I'm capable of doing that. Am I just playing at this?" Maya's expression softened, reflecting a mix of empathy and strength. "You're already doing more than you might realize. But you have to be real about your role in this. If it's going to be a platform for artists, then it needs to value their stories, their struggles. It needs to reflect that." There was a moment of silence, the weight of her words settling between them. James wrestled with the gnawing truth that had always danced at the edge of his perception. Perhaps he had overstated his competencies without fully acknowledging their implications. Was he truly prepared to navigate the complexity of other stories while balancing his own personal identity? "Do you think I'm getting in over my head?" he asked, vulnerability threading through his voice. Maya leaned in, her warmth countering the chill of self-doubt. "It's okay to feel overwhelmed. This world, the arts community, it's fraught with challenges. But each challenge can be a lesson if you're willing to listen. The real role of a leader is to uplift others while also grappling with their truths. And that includes knowing when you need support too." Her insight struck a chord that resonated deep within him. Suddenly, he felt the weight of his choices not as burdens, but as potential stepping stones toward a wiser engagement. He realized that relinquishing the need to be the ultimate authority could liberate him to be more than just a facilitator. He could be an ally, a fellow traveler in understanding the nuanced journey of the artists around him. Just as he began to feel a flicker of clarity amid the chaos, his phone buzzed again. It was Lucy. The message was terse but palpable. "I need to talk to you. Now." James's heart raced again. The gravitational pull of his commitments was swift, shifting anew his perspective of collaboration and responsibility. "I need to go," he said to Maya, a sense of urgency igniting in him. "But I appreciate this. You've made me rethink everything." Maya nodded, a hint of reassurance flickering in her eyes, yet the unspoken emotions left him with an unresolved tension. As he stepped out, he considered the disclosure of his faltering confidence. Could this be the moment he had to demonstrate that he was learning? But another question echoed louder. What awaited him in this next conversation with Lucy? Would it reinforce his newfound understanding, or unravel the fragile threads he had just begun to weave? James hurried down the street, adrenaline coursing through him as he considered Lucy's message. This wasn't just a casual meet-up. It felt urgent, pivotal. What lay behind her need to talk? Was she displeased with him or, worse, the direction he was taking? The anxiety swelled within him, echoing the doubts that Maya had just laid bare. Just moments ago, he had felt a growing clarity about his project and the responsibility it entailed. But now, with Lucy's words spinning through his mind, that clarity felt like a fragile veneer threatened by an unseen storm. He reached the small bistro where he and Lucy often met, a familiar haven now clouded by unease. Sitting at their usual table in the corner, he noticed the ornate light filtering through the window, casting intricate patterns on the tablecloth. In this moment of hesitation, he pondered how to articulate the insights he had gained from Maya. His desire to uplift others felt noble, yet he wondered if he had the right tools in his arsenal to make a tangible impact. Lucy arrived, her expression a blend of determination and concern. She settled into her chair, her fingers running along the edges of her coffee cup as if searching for focus in the storm of thoughts. "James, I'm glad you came," she said, her voice steady yet tinged with gravity. "There's something we need to discuss regarding your workshops." He straightened. This was precisely the topic that worry had knotted in his stomach. "I just spoke with Maya. She had some thoughts on sustainability, and Lucy cut him off gently. "I think that's important, but it's more about the direction you've taken. It's not just about the workshops but how they fit into your larger vision." He faltered, already feeling the walls of doubt closing in. "What do you mean?" She locked her eyes onto his, a firm yet compassionate glare. "I feel like you're trying to do too much without a clear foundation. You speak passionately about amplifying voices, but you haven't set a clear framework for how that works. What does it mean to you? To those artists? Is it truly about them, or is it also about a sense of fulfillment for you? Her words punctured through his initial defenses. He had focused so heavily on the external impact of his work that he hadn't paused to interrogate his own motivations. Why was this project so crucial for him? Was he seeking validation through altruism? The question felt like a mirror reflecting an unsettling truth. I've been caught up in trying to help, he stammered. But maybe I haven't been honest with myself about why it matters so much. Lucy nodded slowly, her eyes softening. It's not wrong to want to feel fulfilled. But understanding your motivations will only strengthen your ability to connect with others. If you're uncertain, how can you expect those artists to trust you with their stories? The tension in the air thickened as he wrestled with this inner turmoil. Part of him wanted to grasp onto his role as a savior of sorts, but the truth emerged like a smudge across a perfect portrait: he was not infallible. He could lead, but only if he acknowledged the full complexity of his own journey alongside those he wished to uplift. He ran a hand through his hair, contemplating the weight of her challenge. You're right. I need to refine my vision, to ensure that it aligns with what I truly believe and what those artists need. But how do I even begin? Lucy smiled, a warmth spreading in her eyes. Start by listening. Seek connection rather than leadership. Use your workshops as a space for dialogue rather than just a platform. Create an environment where vulnerability is part of the process. Hope flickered, and the walls of uncertainty began to crack just slightly. A path was materializing, one that intertwined his aspirations with a deeper understanding of those he sought to support. Just then, a text notification buzzed on his phone. It was Maya. James, I just remembered something important we missed. Can we talk again soon? His heart raced again. The blend of exhilaration and fear was intoxicating. He wanted clarity and connection, but also braced for the possibility of being pushed into further unknown territories. Lucy, he began, this might lead to more clarity, but I feel like the challenges are just beginning. She nodded, a knowing look in her eyes. Embrace it. This journey is just unfolding. And who knows, it might be what turns your vision into a reality. As they gathered their belongings, he felt a renewed breath in his chest. Both exciting and terrifying, the future loomed ahead, ambiguous yet rich with potential. What awaited him as he sought to unite listening with leadership? Would Maya's insight lead him closer to the purpose he craved, or would it throw him deeper into the abyss of uncertainty? The evening air felt electrified as James made his way home, a mixture of excitement and anxiety tangling within him. He replayed Lucy's words, each syllable a weight pressing against his chest. It wasn't just about facilitating workshops, it was about building a framework for genuine connection. He craved understanding. But could he trust himself to navigate this murky territory? His phone vibrated in his pocket, a reminder of the awaiting conversation with Maya. Simultaneously thrilling and daunting, the thought propelled him forward. Clarity was elusive, every interaction felt like a thread weaving into a complex tapestry of emotions, aspirations, and fears. The next morning, James sat at his small, cluttered desk, a landscape of notes and sketches sprawled across the surface, remnants of his vision. Reaching for a cup of coffee, he glanced around his living space, taking note of the disarray. Like his mind, it was chaotic, but each piece held significance. They reflected his journey, his art, his ambitions, and echoes of conversations he had with artists who enriched his understanding of himself. He picked up his phone and stared at Maya's message again, heart pounding. Before he could second-guess himself, he dialed her number. The ringing seemed to stretch into eternity. James? Her voice broke through, forthright yet warm. Maya, I wanted to talk about the last conversation, he said, the words tumbling out. I feel conflicted, like I'm trying to grasp something elusive. There's so much I want to achieve, to give, but I'm lost on how to focus it. Tell me what you've been thinking, she encouraged, her support a buoy against his turbulent thoughts. I keep questioning my intentions. Lucy mentioned I need to reflect on my motivations, and it's made me rethink everything. I want to uplift artists, but what if I'm also looking for validation? Can I even separate the two? Silence followed, thick with contemplation. That's a crucial realization, Maya finally said. Awareness is the first step toward deeper connection. The more you interrogate your purpose, the more authentic your work can become. He felt a flicker deep within, a mixture of relief and trepidation. The idea of vulnerability had surfaced. Maybe it was necessary not just for his artists but for himself. Maybe starting with my own journey is the key, he mused. To share my challenges, my aspirations, I could create a space for dialogue and allow others to resonate with that. Exactly, Maya affirmed. Leaders don't always have to be pillars of strength. Sometimes, they're the ones who bravely share their cracks. Embrace that uncertainty. The conversation sparked a realization. James envisioned a workshop structured not as a haven of authoritative knowledge but as a circle of shared experiences. Drawing from the rawness of his explorations, he could create an authentic environment where everyone could contribute their voice. The room wouldn't be a stage, but a sanctuary for stories, insights, and co-creation. As they wrapped up the conversation, Maya mentioned plans for her own projects and which artists she believed would resonate with his vision. A newfound energy coursed through him. He felt a shift within, the clouds inside his mind beginning to part just slightly. With renewed determination, he set to work, drafting outlines for discussions rooted in personal narrative rather than structured expertise. The authenticity of experience was the bridge, he realized, through which connection could flow, but he didn't have all the answers, only questions, only feelings, only openness to discovery. After finalizing his notes, he noticed the reflection of himself in the window. Who was he becoming? Someone less encumbered by the need for approval, more frayed but profoundly more real, perhaps a stronger leader for it. Embracing this uncertainty felt vulnerable yet empowering. The path was winding, but it led somewhere that felt alive with possibility. He glanced at his phone, another text from Maya, asking if they could collaborate on an upcoming artist showcase. His pulse quickened, the invitation thrumming with potential. What new lessons would come from blending their visions? Would James finally uncover the strength in shared vulnerability, fostering connection in ways he couldn't foresee? The following week, the sun filtered through James's apartment window, casting a warm, soft glow on his scattered notes. He found himself revisiting his workshop outline, adjusting the language to reflect a more inviting tone, words plucked from his heart rather than his head. Every crossout felt significant, like shedding pieces of armor in favor of raw honesty. He could no longer shake the notion that this workshop was more than a mere professional milestone. It had morphed into a personal quest. With each modification, he unearthed layers of himself he hadn't realized were buried beneath the pretense of purpose and certainty. This exploration of authenticity sharpened his focus, and his creativity began to flourish. Maya's proposed collaboration lingered at the edge of his thoughts. She was a risk-taker, someone who thrived amidst uncertainty. The decision to join forces with her felt exhilarating yet terrifying. What if their visions clashed? But that fear morphed into determination. He had no desires to shy away from discomfort, he craved growth. The afternoon was spent drafting a joint vision statement. As he wrote, he considered what it truly meant to co-create. It was more than sharing a project, it entailed merging different realities. The prospect of authenticity ran through their energies like a current. Both would need to bear their vulnerabilities if they were to unlock the potential of this showcase. Later, while scrolling through social media, a story flickered across his feed, capturing a young girl sitting cross-legged at the base of a city park statue. James was drawn in by her bright, expressive eyes, searching, hopeful. The tagline spoke of her tenacity amidst hardship, and James felt an unfurling in his gut as the girl's story unfolded. This was a type of resilience he wanted to capture, a narrative brimming with vulnerability and truth, starkly different yet painfully relatable to his own journey. He felt a pull toward her. This girl resided at a precipice he, too, teetered on. What would it look like to spotlight such rawness in his work? The answer simmered in his mind. Community, resilience, authentic sharing, elements fused together in art. He envisioned inviting her to speak, to share her journey, creating a connection through her lived experience and narratives of hardship. Fueled by newfound inspiration, he set out into the city, his heart racing with a blend of anxiety and excitement. He knew his path wasn't solidified, but the prospect of discovering it alongside Maya charged him with hope. As he approached the park, he noticed the girl again, seemingly engaged in a spirited conversation with an older gentleman. This time, he was resolute. He had to connect. Each step felt like both an ascent and a leap of faith. Would she be willing to share her story? What if he failed to communicate it effectively? The doubts pooled, mingling with anticipation. Just as he neared, the two stood and began walking away, laughter trailing behind them. He hesitated, grappling with uncertainty. This was his moment to step outside his comfort zone, to reach out and establish a connection, to invite her into the very realm he was striving to create. But instead, he watched as they disappeared around a corner, the fabric of the moment unfurling just beyond his grasp. James leaned against a lamppost, breath hitched in his throat. The realization, both invigorating and frightening, loomed. What if he had missed a chance that could have catalyzed his aspiration? Could he confront the very essence of his fears head-on? Determined not to let fear dictate his actions, James left the park feeling a ripple of motivation pulsating within, or was it panic? The workshop was evolving, yes, but so was he. And at that moment, he recognized the importance of pursuing connections chased by both hope and uncertainty. With each step, the unanswered questions became part of his narrative, urging him forward into the unknown. What awaited him next? Would he dare to chase down the stories that could redefine his understanding of connection, or would insecurity call the shots once more? The following day, the weight of his unresolved encounter pressed on James's shoulders like a physical burden. Each thought danced back to the girl, the laughter that drifted away, her eyes sparkling with resilience, a testament to the power of vulnerability. In his apartment, the morning sun poured in, yet it felt dimmer than usual. The notes he had so meticulously restructured now sat scattered, uninviting, as if mocking his hesitance. He realized how much he had been blocking himself from truly engaging with both his work and his own emotions. Today, he decided, was about breaking free from that self-imposed cage. With determination blazing inside him, he grabbed his jacket and set out. The city felt different today. The bustling streets were filled with stories waiting to be discovered. He needed to reclaim his narrative by actively pursuing connections, not only with strangers but with himself. His first stop was a coffee shop, a vibrant hub of conversations and rich aromas. While waiting in line, he overheard snippets of animated discussions. A man in a blazer passionately spoke about a project he was leading that focused on community outreach, something James had shied away from previously. Instead of feeling alienated or intimidated, James felt a spark. What if he could inject the same passion into his workshop? What if he could invite similar dialogues into his own life? When he finally got his coffee, he sat down at a window table, staring out at passers-by. Each person represented a world of experiences, of stories untold. Amidst the warmth of the caffeine, he began to write. Ideas leaped from his fingertips to the page, weaving together thoughts of authenticity and the importance of shared narratives. His phone buzzed, shaking him from his creative trance. It was Maya, checking in about their collaboration. Instead of waiting for her to suggest topics, he took the lead. What if we create a segment focusing on real people and their journeys? Actual stories that resonate, like the girl at the park. Her response came swiftly, filled with encouragement. That's a brilliant idea, James. We should seek out voices that reflect rawness and resilience. Let's set out to find that girl and others like her. We could make this workshop an exploration of connections. That darn buzz of excitement was now accompanied by a fluttering sense of possibility. The fear that had shadowed him began to fade, replaced by hope. It wasn't merely about gathering stories, it was about understanding what it meant to share them. Their project would be more than impersonal presentations, it would be a journey. A collective experience that traversed not only the city but also the depths of their evolving identities. As they brainstormed over the phone, it felt as if James was shedding layers of fear, each idea more daring than the last. Over the next several days, he threw himself into the search for voices similar to that girl's, visiting shelters, community centers, and art spaces. He had a newfound mission now, to foster connections that turn personal pain into shared understanding. But amidst the excitement, a nagging doubt crept back in. What if it turned out to be an extravagant failure? What if his ideas didn't resonate with others? He meant to uplift and include, but what sort of host did that make him if he failed to deliver? As he moved through the streets, a wave of uncertainty washed over him, but he pressed forward. He could call it what it was, an exploration of risk. As he navigated through his city and his mind, James realized that vulnerability was a strength, not a weakness, but that didn't make it any less terrifying. Determined to confront this anxiety, he realized a truth: in exposing their true selves, both he and those he sought to feature could ignite something transformative. In the backdrop of this soul-searching, a loud crash echoed through an alley he passed. It snapped him into the moment, curiosity peaking in his chest. He stepped closer, heart racing. What story could await him in this unexpected detour? As the noise settled, he peered inside, ready to embark on yet another transformative encounter, a new thread woven into the fabric of his journey. James stood at the entrance of the alley, his heart pounding with anticipation. He peeked inside to find a small group of artists, some armed with spray paint, others with brushes, creating a breathtaking mural that infused life into the dull brick walls. Their laughter bounced off the walls, a liberating sound piercing through his lingering doubts. His instincts pulled him closer, each step fueled by curiosity. This moment felt pivotal, a representation of exactly what he aspired to create, a community where stories blended into the very essence of creativity. Suddenly, standing at that threshold, he understood that the stories he sought weren't only those of struggle, but also of joy, collaboration, and unfiltered expression, an amalgamation of resilience in all its forms. "Hey there!" one artist shouted, beckoning him closer. "Wanna join us?" The invitation felt like a lifeline. For too long, he had been an observer in his luxurious corporate cocoon, and now the universe was presenting an opportunity for genuine connection. "Sure." He found himself replying without hesitation, allowing enthusiasm to override hesitance. As he grabbed some paint, he felt an exhilarating clarity wash over him. He was no longer the billionaire CEO weighed down by expectations, but a participant in a vibrant dialogue. Each stroke on the wall was a testament to his journey, blurring the lines between his past life and this newfound commitment to authenticity. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting an orange hue around the alley, their collaborative spirit ignited creativity in James. The stories began to flow, laughter turned to shared truths about challenges faced, the arduous path of being both an artist and a survivor, each stroke of paint an echo of their lived experiences. He was taken aback by the palpable sense of unity, a reminder of what had long been missing in his own life. In that moment, he realized he was accomplishing more than just adding color to a wall. He was rediscovering himself, breaking down the barriers that had once isolated him from engaging with the very world he wanted to uplift. Every shared laugh further cemented his understanding that vulnerability was not simply a risk, it had transformed into his greatest strength. As darkness descended, illuminating the mural and twinkling city lights, James took a step back to admire their work. The piece was vibrant, a collective representation of struggle and triumph, blaring directly against the oppressive gray of the old wall. This was the heart of the community he longed to support, fluid, interconnected voices woven together into something unforgettable. With the evening winding down, the artists began to disperse. James felt a sense of urgency rise within him. "We should host an exhibition," he proclaimed, sparking bright-eyed enthusiasm from his companions. The prospect of showcasing the mural alongside the stories behind it erupted in nods and cheers. "Let us share our truths with the world." This sudden eruption of teamwork brought forth two important truths. He was now taking tangible steps towards a shared vision, and it was exactly what Maya had suggested. The prospect of creating a dialogue around the mural crystallized his shift in focus. He was no longer the savior but rather a collaborator, embracing imperfection and learning alongside those he aimed to uplift. Returning home, he fired off a message to Maya about the mural and the idea of a community exhibition. It was thrilling to think of all the new voices that would join, just as Lucy had done. He could already imagine the conversations that would ensue when viewers engaged with the art stories that could resonate on a deeply personal level. The next weeks unfolded like a beautifully painted canvas. Working tirelessly with Maya, they brought their community exhibition to life. James felt a solid confidence growing within him, rooted in authenticity and empowerment. The workshops became a platform not just for teaching but for sharing real stories. They invited everyone to weave their narratives while he facilitated, leading with curiosity rather than authority. When the exhibition day arrived, he stood among the vibrant walls adorned with art that radiated raw emotion. Conversations flowed like a river as attendees moved from piece to piece, opening up and sharing their interpretations. James circulated through the crowd with a sense of fulfillment that resonated deeper than any financial success ever could. He was not only a part of this community but was actively fostering it. As the evening drew to a close, James spotted Lucy in the crowd. Their eyes met, and she flashed him a bright smile, a reflection of pride mirrored in his own heart as he realized how far they had both come. He joined her, feeling a warmth spread through him. "You did it," she said, beaming. "It's beautiful. This is real change." "Yes, we did it," he corrected, his voice steady. "Together." In that moment of connection, he felt a sense of completeness wash over him. He had met the challenge of stepping outside his comfort zone, embracing not just his privilege but his humanity, ultimately forging genuine relationships that held the power to transform lives. As he looked around, he recognized he had arrived at an important crossroad, not just as a successful businessman, but as a true leader of change. This was the essence of fulfillment, understanding that authenticity in overcoming challenges was what connected them all, and as long as he remained committed to that journey, he would continue to thrive. James had conquered the emptiness that had once threatened to engulf him. He stood grounded, defined not merely by his past, but elevated through the shared stories of those around him. Through embracing his vulnerability, he had forged a path of resonance and understanding, not just for others, but for himself. He realized that in uplifting the voices around him, he had ultimately found and reclaimed his own. As he left the exhibition that night, a peaceful sense of purpose settled within him. He felt empowered to keep listening, to keep learning, and to keep transforming not just for himself, but for everyone whose stories inspired him to dream bigger and act bolder. Now, he was ready to embrace whatever came next with open arms. You need to subscribe now to witness the growth and transformation of countless others just like James. This is the moment to show your support and help us amplify these important stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these impactful narratives alive. Comment your reactions and theories about James's journey and the lessons learned. Have you experienced similar transformations in your life? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Spread the light of change everywhere.